by the end of the next 3 months. I wish the economy would turn. I wish there was something out there specifically earmarked for planning and building from the economic stimulus, but we're just a byproduct of the overall economic stimulus package. So when everybody goes back to work and starts producing, then we're going to be on the receiving end of that as people are starting to come in. Plus, there is work out there with regards to overall infrastructure improvements and so on, and I can see where there may be some planning grants down the road for the study of transportation. There are things that were discussed this morning as far as sustainability and energy conservation and green, and that's one of the things that I've been really trying to push for. But again, we're going to be a byproduct of the overall economic stimulus package. So long answer short, no, I don't have an immediate plan other than not filling those current positions and trying to look at fees and grants right now.
Would it be a true statement to say that the staffing that you have is probably not running at 100% now because of the downturn, or would you say that your staff is busier than ever because of your staffing numbers are down? I mean, I'm just trying to get a sense of what your workload is with the people that you have on the ground.
The staff that I currently have is working at 110% right now, and what we've got there is we've got a couple of positions that are filled, but we have individuals that are out on disability long-term. So we've had people that have had to pick up work from these other individuals. We have planning documents, planning staff reports that need to be produced in greater detail than they were 5-10 years ago. And we also have state mandates that we have to adhere to. So the one that comes to mind, and one of the items that is taking more time to perform both in the field and in a written report, are mine inspection reports, which 10 years ago it would take less than 3 hours to go out and do a report because it was just a simple little check the box. Now the state of California wants a very detailed report and analysis, and I also have to see what the Department of Conservation is asking me for, because I don't want to lose or even be threatened with the removal of the Surface Mining Authority, because most people want local authority, local control here. So I have to meet certain state mandates to be able to keep these programs locally. So again, our staff is working at full capacity and trying to pick up where things are. Plus, we're in the midst of trying to complete the general plan, where again, a lot of these individuals are wearing many different hats, and what used to be formerly the planning team and is now long-range planning, I actually have these individuals also exploring grant opportunities too. So we're trying to plug the ship wherever we can right now.
Question, Supervisor Smith?
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, knowing that you're new to your role here, and you haven't had a lot of time to delve into the budget that you inherited, be it staffing, be it other expenditures, do you think, given a week's time, you would be able to bring back a more detailed plan, knowing that this is sort of impromptu here today, a more detailed plan about what you think is really doable when you really checked with the resources of your department, worked with your staff, looked at everything that might be possible between now and June? Do you think you could bring us back a quick but detailed, here's what I feel I can do, here's why I feel I can do it, here's the monies I think it will save, and if necessary, here's why I don't think I can get fully to the bottom line, but maybe I can get 60% of the way there, or 70, something like that. Is that something you think is possible if you had a week's time?
I can attempt to do that. However, as the HHS director previously noted, I would probably have to come back with a restructuring with the elimination of positions, but I would also have to look at prioritizing some of the planning documents. I know one of the board's direction was to look at the town plan. That may be a planning document that may be put on hold until we're able to come back up and do the staffing. We have the UVAP, the LCP update, the housing element. Again, we're in the midst of that, and I've actually rolled up my sleeves and gotten into the housing element myself as well. So I think if it came to that, I wouldn't be able to get to your bottom line number, in all honesty. I would come back with a proposal, but it would also involve the elimination or the reduction of staff, but it would also put some of these planning tasks on hold as well.
Well, that was my second question for you. Do you feel, as we heard here from Ms. Angelo with respect to HHSA agency, that there's a structural problem? I mean, do you feel, with the amount of time you've had in your role, do you feel that, and I'm not asking where it would go, and I don't think we want a long discussion, but just giving us, because you do have a budget shortfall, we are rapidly approaching next year's budget discussions. Do you think there is a structural problem that you're going to have to be addressing, be it with staff reductions, fee increases, a number of options that you would have, but do you think there's a structural problem?
Overall, there would be, if I were to look at these structural issues, again, the structural issues would come back to a reduction in staff. And as far as the overall structure where it would go, it would have to be what I call frontline staff. The technical staff, the staff that is actually putting, because I only have, in essence, 2 managers in the department, one that oversees building and code enforcement and one that oversees all the planning functions. And I have, in essence, one supervising senior planner that covers the coast, who is supervising an office there. So unlike the Health and Human Services Department, where they have a series of managers and they would be looking at restructuring the elimination or reduction of managers to staff, all I can say at this point is my restructuring would be just staff itself.
Okay. Well, I think this is useful, because my sense about where we should go with this is we need to have everyone be accountable for their budgets. We know there are extenuating circumstances. We know some departments have been hit harder than others. We know some staff ratios are different than others. We know that there are certain missions and departments that have regulatory or legal constraints. There are a number of factors, but I think that given that we have a savings in a number of the departments, as Ms. Glassy illustrated earlier, I think it was 300 and some thousand, approaching 400,000. That, to me, is the amount of money that the board has flexibility with respect to the balancing responsibility that we have. So that's where this supervisor's going, is I think that and we only have a few of them. I think there are maybe only 5 or 6 budget departments or budget units that actually are over, and I think that we need to look at them on a case-by-case basis. This supervisor's not at all interested in taking the bottom line deficit and rolling it over all the departments and coming up with full-time equivalencies and creating 48 layoffs. I am not interested in that at all. I think that's going to create mass chaos. I think their employees have bumping rights. It's not going to affect 48 people. It's going to affect 148 people. This supervisor's not interested in that. So the first level I would want to get to, or what I would want to explore before I ever got to feeling that that was a position I had to take, would be that I want to look at all the other options first. And I want to look at budget accountability for each budget unit, and then we go from there. And I think there has to be some latitude. It isn't that every budget unit that is low is ultimately going to have to meet that exact dollar amount. I think that doesn't show flexibility, and it doesn't honor the various circumstances. But that's just sort of where I'm going with it.
Supervisor McCallum.
Thank you. We have a shortfall in revenue from what was projected of roughly 600,000. And is that both for building permits and also for planning applications? That's combined?
That is correct. And again, if the crystal ball could have been looked at a year ago and seen where it was going to go, the numbers should have been projected a lot lower, because knowing where the economy has gone, and now we're in what they call the worst part of it, or the area that everybody was anticipating, then those numbers should have been looked at much more carefully a year ago and looked at more conservatively, because it was assumed as business as usual, and that's really not the case where we're at. And again, to